So here it is, the Nova 5 series from Huawei. We've got 3 phones in this series, and this is everything you need to know about those phones. So we all know that Huawei are in a little bit of a pickle at the moment, but with that said, I do live in China and these phones do exist, so I'm going to give you the information you want. If you are looking to buy a Huawei, do your own research first, and at the end of the day, the decision is up to you. So not content with releasing one Nova 5, there are now 3. It's not 2019 unless you have a Lite version and a Pro version. Let's start with the Nova 5. You get a 6.39 inch OLED display. That's an upgrade from the Nova 4, which had an LCD display. Another difference in the screen is that the cutout that was in the corner is now a water drop notch in the middle. Because Huawei upgraded the screens from LCD to OLED, they had to change the design. So now you get a water drop notch. It's the same on the Nova 5 and the Nova 5 Pro. On the Nova 5 Lite, you actually keep the cutout design because that phone keeps an LCD screen. Also, a new design on the Nova 5 and the Nova 5 Pro is the use of an under-screen fingerprint sensor. Because the screens on both of those have switched to AMOLED, Huawei can now move the fingerprint sensor to under the screen. That's a big upgrade from what they were using on the Nova 4. The Nova 5 Lite, keeping an LCD screen, can't use an under-screen fingerprint sensor, so that remains on the back. One of the biggest differences actually between the Nova 5 and the Nova 5 Pro is the processor used. Actually, the Nova 5 has an all-new mid-range chip from Huawei. This is a Kirin 810 processor. This is an upgrade over its last mid-range chip, which was the Kirin 710. Huawei gave us a load of marketing hype about this, how it's really good at AI and all that nonsense. But what we really need to know is it's an ARM-based chip. It's manufactured using a 7nm process, which is pretty modern. And this is going to be pretty much comparable maybe to the 710 or the 730 processor. These mid-range chips from Huawei aren't the most powerful, but you get decent performance out of them. And we know that Huawei phones are always good in the camera department. Now, the Nova 5 Pro uses the Kirin 980 processor, which at the moment is Huawei's flagship processor. So that's a great thing. Just bear in mind that it is June now, and in a couple of months' time, Huawei are going to release the Mate 30 series, which will introduce their brand new flagship processor. So even though this is their flagship processor at the moment, it is at the end of its life cycle. That's not a bad thing. It's a really great processor. It's not as powerful as the Snapdragon 855 in benchmarks anyway, but it is a powerful chip and it's very good at imaging, and you get good video and good slow-mo out of that as well. Now, the cameras on the 5 and the 5 Pro follow exactly the same setup. They both have a 48 megapixel main camera, a 16 megapixel ultra wide camera, and then they add 2 other cameras. You have a depth sensor and a macro lens, as they call it. They will help with imaging, but the 2 main lenses you get on there are the main and the ultra wide cameras. Huawei focused heavily on AI, whatever that means, but there's some cool features here. For example, you can choose to keep yourself in color whilst everything around you is in black and white. It's a pretty cool effect, and things like this will differentiate the phone from other phones you might be looking at. The Nova 5 Lite has a 24 megapixel front camera that also has a quad camera at the back, but the megapixels are different, meaning that they have different sensors. Obviously, being a Lite version, that will have cheaper sensors. You get more or less the same features out of that, but the imaging will have a different quality for 2 reasons. Firstly, the sensors are different, obviously cheaper, and the processor is different, obviously cheaper. Something that Huawei have added is very fast charging on this phone. Both the 5 and the 5 Pro get 40 watt fast charging. Now, Huawei say that you can charge from 0 to 50% in 15 minutes, and it will take 30 minutes to charge up to 85%. 40 watt fast charging is a very, very good feature, especially for a phone of this price. So yeah, let's just get onto the price. So the Nova 5 you can get with 8GB of RAM, 128GB of storage. That starts at 2799 RMB here in China. That's the Chinese price. I'll put some exchange rates up here for you. The Nova 5 Pro That starts at 2,999 Chinese price. You get 8 gigabytes of RAM, 128 gigabytes of storage. So where does that come then? Well, you've got the Redmi K20 Pro at 2,500, which is cheaper, has the Snapdragon 855 processor, but you would probably say maybe the Huawei has a better processor for images. It's very difficult to tell without actually just testing them together. And also it comes down to personal preference, which one you like more. That fast charging is definitely a great feature as well. 40-watt fast charging is really, really quick. But again, do you really need it over, for example, 27-watt fast charging? That's the decision you're gonna have to make. I'm talking versus, for example, the K20 Pro or the Xiaomi Mi 9. Competition at this price point, to be honest. And then you've got the OLED screen with the water drop notch, which is very similar to the Xiaomi Mi 9. But if you want a completely bezel-less display, you've got the K20 and the K20 Pro from Redmi, who use that pop-up camera. Right, that's it. If you want to see more about the Nova 5 series, if you want to see me testing them out, I think I'm going to get them for the channel. It's a big brand and I live in China anyway, so lots of my subscribers here will want to see it. Then subscribe, turn notifications on, and you can see all of those tests. But for now, that's it.